Hi, my name's Jill, and my daughter suffered from an eating disorder for most of her teenage years. It was a very difficult time, and initially we didn't know a lot about an eating disorder, and it was very hard to find information. She was discharged from one of the major hospitals into the care of the community services, where we took her along to a counsellor, which really didn't work for her, and it was a waste of time. But at that stage we thought that was all the help there was out there, so we tried to persist with it, but it wasn't successful. She was able to maintain herself for 2 or 3 years until she went to uni away from home, and things got really quite bad. It was during that stage where my husband and I contacted the EDA, where we were able to do the family information group and listen to people who worked in that area, get ourselves educated. I read books and everything just to learn a little bit more about it. So when my daughter actually realised that she had a problem, she had developed osteoporosis by that stage, she wanted to come home. So we decided that we would get our own team together. So I'd organised for a dietitian and a counsellor and a psychiatrist, organised all those appointments before she actually arrived home. So I was able to take her the very next day to see the dietitian, and I was really so happy when she actually made eye contact with him, because I felt that at least, you know, this was going to be a positive thing. So then we went to see a counsellor, and both of us didn't really feel that was that successful, so we sort of decided that we would seek out someone else. We also went to see the psychiatrist, and at that stage, having 3 hospital admissions, which were all quite a negative experience for our daughter, we made the promise to her that we would look after her at home, do our very best to get her well again at home. So when we went to see the psychiatrist, he was a little bit surprised and really wanted her in hospital, but I said we'd really like to try this at home. So he said she had to put on 500 grams a week or a kilo a week in hospital. So we went home, and that's what we tried to do. So I actually became the person who supported her with her eating. We continued to see the dietitian once a week, and the psychiatrist, and also a counsellor as well. I remember after the first week of her trying to put on 500 grams, the night before the psychiatrist's appointment, she was crying and in tears and very distressed that she might have to go to hospital because she mightn't have been able to reach her goal. And the next day, amazingly, she'd put on her 500 grams, and I was surprised, and the psychiatrist was surprised, and I was really very happy. And when we left, I couldn't believe it, because she was absolutely devastated. And she was saying, I've eaten too much, I shouldn't have done it, I shouldn't have agreed to eat all this. So I had a lot of negative issues to help her with. So I used to talk her through her meals. Every meal, 6 meals a day, we would spend half an hour or more just coaxing her to eat. She was so anxious. She would be rocking in her seat, digging her nails into her hands and her legs, and that would continue through the whole meal. But what I'd done was I went to every counselling session and dietitian session that she had, and so I got strength from listening to what the dietitian had said, and I could reiterate all that information back to her. Quite often I used to find we'd end up into a little bit of an argument, and we'd end up talking in circles. So I would try and think of strategies that she couldn't argue with. And one of the ones that really worked for us was she was always telling me that she was fat and worried, you know, that she was going to get bigger. So I'd ask her if I was fat, and of course she would say no. So we'd put our arms together on the table, and I'd say to her, is your arm bigger than mine? And she would say no. So I would say, well, how can you be fat? And you could see that she would realise that that was true. So that was just one of the many strategies that I had, and I used that several times, because with the eating disorder, it's very repetitive. and things. I would tell her the same thing almost every day to be able to get her to eat. So it was really quite difficult. We were also very fortunate that she was able to come to work with me as a volunteer. So I was able to support her through all her meals during my meal breaks. And also with her being a volunteer, at the end of the day, she actually had a feeling of being useful to someone, and also gave her mind something else to think about other than food all the time. So that was very successful. We did try a day program, thinking that that might give me a little bit of respite, 3 days a week, and might actually help her. So we did try that, but that only lasted for a week, because after the first day she came home and she did manage to eat all her food, but she was saying it's not fair, everyone else isn't eating and I am. So by the end of that week she wasn't eating her meals, and it really took me twice as long the day after to try and get her to eat when I was having quite good success. So we gave up on that, but just continued with all our counselling and dietitian. I think the things that actually helped us was to get a therapist, or whether it be a dietitian or a psychiatrist or a counsellor, someone that your person can actually connect with. That's really important. It's a waste of time if they don't actually connect. I used to, I read a lot of books. I read the EDA magazine, and that was really quite helpful, because a lot of girls will write who've recovered. They'll write their own little stories, and I used to pick out bits that, you know, where people say how difficult it is to recover. It's a really hard journey, but it's worth it. All those type of things. I used to refer to Bronte. Everyone knows her story. Little bits and pieces out of her story. Things that my daughter wasn't able to argue with, because it's written and it's fact. She used to read a lot of those stories as well, and they're very helpful. The EDA have a fantastic information group, as well as a support group. When I went to the support group, we all shared phone numbers and that, so on the odd occasion I would ring someone just to have a bit of a chat, because you know, you yourself would get quite stressed just trying to deal with the anxiety and the fear of losing your loved one. So that was really very helpful. I used to also attend all the dietitian and psychiatrist appointments and the counsellor. I got a lot of support for that. Helped make me quite strong, so that I could support my family, the siblings, and my daughter as well. I think it's very important for the rest of the family to feel confident that their brother or sister is going to get better, even though you yourself in your heart might feel quite down and very insecure about it. But as long as you can project that positivity, it really helps the other children, and just for them to be a brother and a sister, for the grandparents to be grandma and grandpa, and just support family and friends. Fantastic support, and you really need that.